Hey, everybody.
Hey.
How's it going? Let's see who's joined us. All right. Looks like let's give it a few minutes, let people join in. We've got several things we're going to talk about today. There's been some talk recently about cannabis-induced psychosis. We're going to talk about Kentucky primaries. NORML smoke the vote. And again, as always, we'll have the end open for anyone who has any questions that they'd like to ask. Now, if you notice in the comments, we already have several links dropped in there. What we did is the articles that we're going to talk about today, we went ahead and posted them in the comments so that you can go back and find them when you need them. And let's see. Make sure we see if we're getting new comments here. All right, we're starting to get some viewers on. How's everybody doing? Let's see if anybody will speak up. Is everybody ready for Mother's Day? Have you bought the lady in your life some nice green flowers? That's what I like to have. Yeah, hey, Billy. We're always glad to see Billy. We're just waiting on a few more viewers to get on before we really get started. Anybody else out there? Oh, they're starting to trickle in.
Yeah.
We're kind of tired. We had Chinese food for dinner and we're stuffed. We just got the baby to bed. It finally got quiet. So it's like we just really want to take a nap. We're getting old. We like to go to bed early. So. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
So welcome to Kentucky NORML's weekly live stream. We bring you the latest updates and news on cannabis advocacy, policy, and culture in Kentucky. I'm Lauren. I'm the Deputy Director of Kentucky NORML. And like I said, we're going to talk about several things tonight. First off, we're going to start with there's been a little dust up recently in the press over the cannabis-induced psychosis. There's been some things coming out in some pretty major publications, and you'll probably see them after a while, saying that there's been an uptick in cannabis-induced psychosis. So we wanted to kind of put that fear to rest. We hear that a lot in Frankfurt from legislators and from just people who are concerned about medical cannabis. So I'm going to share that page. Let's see. Got to click the buttons. All right. So this op-ed was written by Paul Armentano, and he is actually our deputy director at the national level. He also is the director of science, I believe is his title, at Oaksterdam University. So Paul knows what he's talking about. Let's get to some of these ads. So the article here is titled, Fears About Marijuana and Psychosis Need to be Placed in Scientific Context, Not Hyped Up by the Media. Some health professionals have expressed concerns that exposure to highly potent cannabis products may trigger psychotic-like symptoms in certain consumers, particularly young males. Such claims are hardly new. In fact, allegations that cannabis smoking caused incurable insanity in certain users were widely promoted throughout the 1920s and 1930s, that eventually influencing Congress to impose a blanket ban on the substance in 1937. So, I mean, we're talking about almost 100 years of propaganda right now.
It's coming right back around.
Yeah, totally. Will you pull that down just a little bit? There you go. You can see our heads a little better. So to go on, today's warnings are less sensational, but nonetheless gaining mainstream media attention. As in the 1930s, those pushing this narrative are seeking a renewed crackdown on the plant, particularly in state legal markets. But is there any merit to claims that today's cannabis use poses unique harms to one's mental health, particularly with respect to increasing one's risk suffering from a psychotic break? Fortunately, several studies published within the past few months shed some much needed light on the subject. In reality, acute cannabis-induced psychosis is rare, and those who experience it are typically either predisposed to psychosis or have a pre-existing psychiatric disorder. For example, Canadian researchers recently assessed mental or behavioral related hospitalizations among a cohort of more than 23,000 medical cannabis patients. During the course of the study, only 26 subjects were hospitalized for exhibiting disorders due to the use of cannabis.
And that in and of itself is a broad term, a disorder. So, they could have seen anything and been like, we'll chalk that up to it just to be on the safe side of things. And that's a very low number. What was that again? Like almost 1%?
It was,
or less?
26 subjects out of 23,000.
Oh, yeah, this is a very small percentage. So, like, if you take that and you just, it's not going to expand much more into the general population, So these fears, that's all it is. It's just some fears.
So I won't read the entire article, you guys. I have the link there in the comments for you if you'd like to read the whole thing. I'm going to kind of skip down a little bit to Paul's quote. There was no significant association between any measure of cannabis use at baseline and either transition to psychosis, the persistence of symptoms, or functional outcomes, they concluded. Authors theorized that in instances where such a relationship had previously been identified, subjects likely initiated their cannabis use at younger ages and engaged in more frequent use and consumed more potent products. Let's see, more studies, more proof. You can't read anything that Paul writes without reading lots and lots of sources, which is what we like. We like to be right. And I think most of us who knew that cannabis was a good product feel that way too. Feels good to be right and have the right facts. Let's see. So, kind of skipping to the bottom. This is not to deny that some people with psychiatric disorders consume cannabis. It is well established that those suffering from psychosis and similar symptoms tend to consume all controlled substances at higher rates than those in the general population, or that in some cases cannabis use may exacerbate symptoms of psychosis or even trigger a psychotic episode. Like other psychotropic substances, cannabis is not innocuous. In some instances, there are higher risk populations that may possess a greater likelihood of experiencing adverse events following its use. Those who suffer from certain psychiatric disorders or those who are predisposed to such events likely fall into this category. But I can't talk all of a sudden. But sensationalizing the potential risks of cannabis will do little to protect them. Calling for the recriminalization of cannabis in state legal markets won't either. One more paragraph. Rather, the establishment of a regulated market designed to keep cannabis products away from young people and that provides clear warnings to those specific populations who may be more vulnerable to its effects. Coupled with a policy of consumer education, it is the best way to protect public health and mitigate consumers' risks. So again, if you want to read this entire article, I've dropped that into the comments. It's on Marijuana Moment. A couple of links right underneath that are some other op-eds that Paul wrote that are on the NORML's website. This one, concerns over high potency THC products warrant greater education, not criminalization. And again, that link is there for you to read as well, and very sourced, which is what we love about NORML. And then the other thing, I closed out my little link that we left for you there in the comments. One more is another piece from the Marijuana Research Library on the National NORML's website. And this one is a study for cannabis mental health and the context, the case for regulation. So again, if there's any question you guys have about cannabis, NORML has the best resource. This is where we get our information. This is all the information we share with legislators or educators, anybody that wants good, accurate information. And that's at NORML's Marijuana Research Library. You can see here there's recent medical research, surveys and polls, state marijuana arrests, marijuana, a primer, that's kind of a cannabis 101, studies on driving and marijuana, and then normal testimony in other states and at the federal level as well. And then some additional reports down here at the bottom. So if you need information, if you want to learn, if you want to educate yourself, you're going to want to go to normal.org/marijuana/library. And I think real quick, we're just going to take a little fundraising break, tell you guys how you can support Kentucky NORML. And then we're going to let Matt, Mr. Political over here, talk about the Kentucky primaries that are coming up. So I know that you guys probably already heard of this, but if you go to kynormal.org/support, you will see all the ways that you can give to help support us here at Kentucky NORML. You know, some people don't like to just give donations. I'm pulling up our website here. They like to, you know, get a sticker, get a shirt, get something fun that represents that they are supporting this organization. So that's what we've tried to do with this website, kynormal.org/support. There's links here where you can become a member. We send you a membership card that has the number to the legislative hotline on the back, QR code to get to links easily, and it does have your member name on it. If you would like to just donate, and you know, $5 pays for our email service every month, so no amount is too small. A lot of people like to give us $4.20 a month, things like that. That's always fun. So you know, every little bit helps. You can also shop in our store. That's shop.kynormal.org. We've got cool shirts, stickers. We've got a pet bandana. I mean, you name it. There's all kinds of fun stuff there as well. We don't make as much money that way. It's a smaller profit because it is a ship to order as you order it, but it's still a really great way to help out. If you have a business, a cannabis business, or a cannabis kind of adjacent business, like for instance, you print something, you print flyers, you print business cards, and you want to service cannabis companies, we can talk about putting you in our business directory. Now, for you guys consumers, you want to click on that directory. It's directory.kynormal.org. And we are listing all the organizations that we know and trust that support us. We support them back. A lot of times they will have coupon codes for you. I know one of our supporters, Experimental Farms, is doing a 20% off CBD discount. So that's a really great business that has good products. So you can try their things if you want to look at CBD. And then the other couple of things we have are to gift straight from our wish list. We love that. There's nothing better than getting a surprise toner in the mail for our printer that's constantly printing. And then last but not least, we do have our conference, which will be in March of 2024. And that is to serve for education for public, policymakers, health professionals, anybody that's going to be involved in this industry that wants to educate themselves and network with like-minded individuals. So, and there also is going to be a day on a Saturday, that's March 9th, 2024, that will be open to the public. So you can buy a ticket and come in and see the booths that are set up at the expo on the other side of the conference. So I guess that's all I have to say about that. Please help us. Everything, all these little programs, all the printing, all the travel, everything costs. So anytime you can help out, we really appreciate it. So I'm done. I need a drink. I'm going to let Matt talk about the Kentucky primaries, and I'll be his little co-pilot over here. Click stuff for him.
All right. So early voting has started today, I do believe. So, check your polling places. You can do that by going to the Secretary of State's website.
That's elect.ky.gov.
Yeah. And then you can go in there, enter your address. It'll set you up, tell you where you are to vote, where you're able to vote at, where their precincts are. A lot of places are going into the, where everybody can just go to, central locations. I think that works really well. It makes it pretty accessible for a lot of folks. So, be sure to go if you are unaware of where you need to go and vote. You should be able to pull up your polling place. Like it's 3 down there. Boom, boom, boom. Find your polling place, and it'll tell you where you need to go. I think early voting takes place between. Where we got it? Do we have that down
sorry,
here?
I had all the dates out here for you. Early voting is today through the 13th, so Thursday through Saturday.
Yeah.
Is like 2 things maybe, or it's very small.
Yeah, these off years, there's not a lot of seats open for like there's just state executive positions essentially. The next year is when we'll have the big elections.
Yeah.
I think there'll be I think these off years really kind of like throw a wrench into a lot of people because it's like there's not a lot of get out the reason to vote, right? It doesn't seem as important, but every election counts, and so this can make a difference about how the cannabis program is treated in the future with whoever our governor is.
If you vote Republican, there's a lot more choices for the primary. I mean, you've got a huge list of Republican governor candidates that you can choose from, and /states/KY, and that will take you to Smoke the Vote. Now, if you see anybody who their stance or that you have seen their stance published, you can share that with us and send us a message so that we can update that. This is one of those things that it's constantly evolving, so it's not always updated. But you can come here and look up your people on the ballot and see how they stand for marijuana and cannabis, whether it's if they stand for everything or if they stand just for medical. That's how they're rated. So you can look those people up. If you see F's on here and they are on your ballot and cannabis is why you are voting, then you're going to want to pay attention to that. So I know, like, I was just scrolling through. Let's see. Right now our F's are Hal Rogers, Danny Carroll, we know that, Robert Mills.
And these are all, are in our house. So these people aren't really up for election this time. Let's go over to that Secretary of State website real quick.
So these one, I'm sorry. So they won't actually be on our Smoke the Vote?
No, I don't believe we have.
Because it's primaries and
it's
sorry, I'm too soon. They don't do that for primaries because it's just so quick and there's so many people.
Let's scroll up to the top there. Let's look at our candidates.
Okay. We'll share that instead.
Let's see here. Okay, well, actually, I thought it was going to have a whole lot more, but it's more about the filing stuff. So let's just, that was less than I thought it was going to be.
Are you looking for the sample ballots? Because I got that.
Yeah, that'll be good. That's all the state seats. Perfect.
Okay. There we go. So this is also dropped in the comments. That's ends in election ballots. Let's see. There we go. If you want to see what your sample ballot's going to look like in your county so that you can research people ahead of time. So,
let's just pull any of them up because it's all going to be for state seats. There'll be maybe a couple of locals, but not really. Okay, so as we see over here, the Democratic Party, there's only really 2 seats that are being ran for governor and ag commissioner. And then over here, we've got quite the field for the governor. And, they've had some debates and stuff that's been on KET. I think you can still access those to see, how they've interacted with each other and talk about their stances and things like that. That's a big field. Some of them I haven't heard of. Ashamed to say. Secretary of State, he's just an unchallenged Republican. So, like, whoever wins this will win the seat. Same with auditor, treasurer. And then we've got the 2 options down here for ag commissioner.
And that was I think it was for Carroll County. So each county is going to be different. You're going to want to look that up and kind of, have a game plan if you don't already.
Yeah, I think, but most of the ballots will all look the same, unless you have, local ordinances or something going on to vote on. But mostly it'll be just those candidates that you'll see.
Okay. Is there anything else? I think. Let's see. And did we have any other updates?
Well, there are going to be hearing
the safe
the
banking.
safe banking in
They
committee
declared it
tomorrow.
today.
It was today?
Huh?
Okay, so I'm a day
I
behind.
haven't seen it.
Reading.
Results.
So yeah, they've been hearing it today, and it's so important for the industry for this to pass to cover just a lot of businesses that it'd be just safer. You know, it's easy to audit a company that isn't worked in cash mostly, and it's safer for the businesses to not have to deal with a bunch of cash. So in having, you know, access to more loans and other things like that, that's going to be so big for the industry, and bringing in a big banking, industry, big banking systems to help expand the industry too.
And I just dropped another link there in the comments for you guys. It's to our national site. It's a letter you can send to your federal, what are we in this? Senate, your U.S. senator.
Yeah. So it'll go to Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell.
That you support the Safe Banking Act. If you've ever gotten a letter back from Mitch McConnell, he's not.
But he needs to still hear from you. He still needs to hear from you. He still needs to hear from you. That's important for us, for them to hear from us, regardless of whatever the topic is. They need to be voting for our interests and not the people who are paying for their campaigns. That's just how it should be. We did have a question from Dave. I think we're down here towards the end of what we're going for. So, Dave, you did ask earlier about how long before we will be able to get a script from your doc. It's going to be some time still yet.
First, there won't be any prescriptions from doctors. So start there.
Yeah, I think the language is kind of important to talk about. Russell's jumped in the chat. I think it will essentially be, like a recommendation, and then once you are able to get that recommendation, you should be able to get your card that day, or at least a preliminary card while one is being shipped out to you. Think
about it like a driver's license. You'll have to go to the state.
And like in your particular physician may not want to recommend cannabis, and a lot won't, because it will involve a lot of extra registration, probably some more fees for them.
Continuing education.
Yeah, continuing education. So, and that's something that they've got to fill out, every year, every couple of years or so, just to stay on top of things. But there will be places that they can recommend you to, that they're used to recommending to all sorts of specialists, and this would be no different. Now, as far as the timeline goes, we're hoping that they can get everything up fairly quickly. I know that the governor office wants them to really kind of go ahead with this and move as quickly as possible, but we're not reinventing the wheel here. So these rules and regulations shouldn't be that hard to come across and come up with. And the quicker we have these things in place, the quicker we can get a patient registry set up. And so our patients, while there may not be medical cannabis available in the state at this moment, they could go to states that does have reciprocity and get medical cannabis, medical grade cannabis. Not Ohio, so they don't have a reciprocity agreement in their bills, but they're working on it. But we'll never know how that actually turns out until after the fact. But there's still other markets like West Virginia. There's still a medical market in Illinois with higher potency things for patients. And all else fails, in the meantime, we are surrounded by recreational states. Adult use states is coming around us. We got Virginia, we've got Missouri, Illinois, and other states will soon follow, and they always do. So it's only a matter of time before our industry gets here and off the ground, and it will happen soon. 2 years deadline is going to be over and be here in no time. That doesn't help people today. So
no, but hemp-derived gummies, hemp-derived products that have a higher level of THC are available. And they are legal. That doesn't change whether or not your employer can drug test you.
Certainly.
But the products themselves you can get in the state. And the problem with going over to the other markets is that it's still federally illegal to cross state lines. Yeah. So there's still a lot of risk there. And, we just want everybody to be aware so that they don't get in trouble. I don't know. I think that's
Yeah, and in the meantime, the low dose THC through the CBD and derived stuff, I think that is a good option. It really is for a lot of folks who can't afford to travel, who can't afford to do all this other things. So it's very good. In a lot of states, their medical cannabis program, like I think Georgia, is a low dose like that. So we essentially have that legal already here, that would in other states be considered a medical cannabis program. Once ours get off the ground, though, we won't have to worry about the low dose stuff. We'll actually have, medical quality cannabis available for our patients, and that's going to be key. Kentucky grown, Kentucky tested, clean, good products. There will be no worry of where it's coming from. If it's out the back door someplace in California or being shipped along the routes, we will know it's be clean because it's coming from our places.
All right. Well, I guess we are pretty much going to wrap up.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to announce today. I want to make sure everybody remembers to go on kynormal.org. At the very top of the webpage is a little black box where you can put in your email and subscribe to our updates. We try very hard not to spam you, but we will keep you updated on the important stuff.
Absolutely.
And then that also signs you up for National's website or their newsletter that they send out every, I think, weekly.
Yeah. Couple times a week, maybe.
Yeah, that's a really good source of news too as well. Mm-hmm. So you guys stay safe out there. Summer's coming. Thanks, Billy. You don't have to thank us. We're glad to do it. It's our passion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's what brought us together, and it's what we love to do. So we appreciate y'all being here. And if you guys just keep spreading the word and let people know if they have questions, if they need to talk about what's going on with the laws, we're here to help.
Mm-hmm. And, we got an 800 number. You give us a call. You can text it. Any questions? It's an 888, I think, or something like that.
It's 502-888-1522.
There's 8s in there. Right, it's 502-888. But it's
but it's our work line, so you can call us, and if you have any questions, we'd like to help you.
Absolutely. And like I said, we call or text it. We do our best to answer it and get back with you if we miss it. So, if you got questions, you got friends that have questions, have them get a hold of us. That's what we're here for.
All right, guys, take care. Enjoy the nice weather, and we'll talk to you next week.
Have a good evening.
Bye.